how are you? This is Peggy Martino, one of the administrators on the page here. We're doing something fun, something new and exciting where we're interviewing people. When I was asked to guest host, I knew immediately who I wanted to be my first candidate, and that would be the man who started the page, Walt, but I call him Wally. And we're going to start with our creator. Okay, I'm a little nervous here. You ready, Wally?
Uh-huh.
All right. As of this morning, well, first of all, July 18th, you will be celebrating 1 year of starting Mega.
Right.
As of this morning, we had 7,156 members. Who knows, in the last 5 minutes, if perhaps we even added a couple. So my first question to you, how did this start? What was your vision then? What's your vision now? Any surprises? But your baby, how do you feel about all of this?
Well, I think you may remember that 2020 was getting really toxic, right?
Yes.
Especially on Facebook, right? And believe me, I was helping with the toxicity. So I just got tired of it. And I thought, you know what? Let's go create something that's a departure. And that's why all the rules were nothing toxic, no politics, no religion.
Yeah.
And thought, let's go to the good old days. But I honestly, Peggy, never thought that it would take off as fast as it took off. John Morey was probably one of the first to get in. And so I wasn't sure if it was people like you, John Morey, other people, Sarah, you guys got pretty good nets. And so it just took off. And then it was a matter of saying, I better get some administrators, because for the first month, I was trying to do it myself, and that just wasn't possible.
Was that the biggest growth period, you think, during that first month?
I think once we got into the late August timeline, I started realizing this thing's it's gonna hit 1,000 fast. But I thought it would just bottom out. I thought maybe 1,000, 1,500. It just kept climbing. It's still climbing. I'll go in and see 30 people just applied or signed in.
So it has been everything and more that you hoped it would be.
And if you really think about it, Peg, that's really telling about our neighborhood. I mean, so many people had so many great memories that I think everybody needed that oasis in 2020. And
Yes.
to look back at the neighborhood was all good time, or at least we thought it was all good time.
No, it was. And you know what? We've had a lot of feedback that it helped a lot of people, certainly in the middle of COVID. It was kind of a lifeline. So I was going to touch on this later, but maybe I'll touch on it now along those lines. Some of you may not know that Wally is an author. And although he has several books out, one of the books was The Grand and Harlem Days, which you had gifted me with a copy of back in the day, and I thoroughly enjoyed. In the foreword, I underlined the very first line. Growing up in Chicago during the late 1960s through the early 1980s was a magical time in my life. Tell us about some of the magic.
Oh, I just think it was, I don't know, when you listen to Royce and Congrani's interview, he kind of says the same thing. We just had a great neighborhood. I think it was a time when everybody was kind of in the same boat, right? So there were some families that are a little well off than others, but most of us were hardworking families. We did the best we could with what we had, which meant we were inventing a lot of things as kids, right? So whether it was baseball teams or it was bands, or I used to say that Grand and Harlem, when I was growing up, was probably the last of the Mayberry years. because
Oh,
there was a good sense of family then. There was a good sense of this structure. You know, every mother had the right to smack another kid in the neighborhood because they were a
yes.
mother. You know, every father had the right to correct. So it was just a great foundation of good moral values. People, I don't know if you remember this, but we never really looked at financial things. We didn't say, well, the Catalanos, they have better sports
Right.
equipment, right? You had what you had, and then it actually made us want to go get a job earlier so we could have those things, right? But I think today it's everything is just kind of backwards. It there's no joy. It's getting, but we had the joy of the journey. That's probably the best way to
Um,
put it.
yeah. Yes, yes, and
Yeah,
yes, we'll leave it at
yeah,
that. Joy of the journey,
yeah.
absolutely. Also in the forward, I like the quote that you used, and I thought it was worth sharing. It was from Bradley Whitford, where you said, infuse your life with action. Don't wait for it to happen. Make it happen. Make your own future. Make your own hope. Make your own love. And whatever your beliefs, honor your creator, not by passively waiting for grace to come down from on high, but by doing what you can to make grace happen yourself right now, right down here on earth. I know that you had planned to possibly rewrite the book or get a few additional writers to perhaps, as we go forward, look to expound upon this a little bit. Is that still something that you're tossing around?
Well, you know, that book, the way that got started was Frankie Cangelosi and Johnny Cangelosi, they would have a regular get together with the guys from the neighborhood at an Italian restaurant on Central Avenue. And there was one night that a lot of guys showed up. And so we're at this huge table.
Mhm.
And the funny thing about us growing up is older brothers and our friends' older brothers, there was always this pecking order. And it still exists. When you get together, when they talk, you tend to shut up, you know. And I remember I was sitting there kind of waiting for my gap, and I said, "Hey guys, we all got such great stories. Why don't we write a book?" Right? And they all said, "Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. You go do that." Right? So when I wrote it, I couldn't get enough material from people. And it's nothing against them. Everyone's got a busy life. So if you notice, a big part of the beginning of the book was too Viola centric, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
I didn't want that. I really wanted more of the latter part of the book, which is
mhm.
your memories, every family saying, well, I remember this, because then it's encompassing the whole neighborhood. So yeah, I do want, I want to, I'd say a second edition or a rewrite. And I think that's what these interviews will help us do, Peggy. I think it's going to, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll touch on that again and I'll post it. But for now, it is available on Amazon, everybody, along with your other books.
Yeah. Well, there's
No, I
things
think
that
it's a good
come
idea.
up.
I certainly would love to be a part of it. And I know we have other writers. So,
Yeah.
something to shoot for.
Well, I mean, Peg, you notice that you'll be talking to someone and they'll bring up something you completely forgot about, right?
Yeah, till
And
triggered.
it triggers, and that's what I think it is, these triggering things. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yes. I got my outline here, so I'm cheating a little bit, just trying to make sure I'm not
No, go
forgetting.
for it. Yeah, you're doing good.
There's certainly different topics I want to cover. Okay, back to the page for a minute. Most of us are on the page because we were invited on the page. And I came on the end of July. And although I didn't know you, I immediately, of course, recognized the name Viola. And of course, my mind flashed back to 55 years ago, your
Right.
brother, seeing your brother for the first time with the shiny black hair and the good looking face.
Yeah.
And honest to God, I can remember this just where I was at and being with the kids. And I said, who's that? And they said, Jerry Viola. They have 12 kids. They live on Neva. That was the exact, and for me, yours was always the largest family. I never knew you guys, but from that moment on, you were it. And I know you said there's probably other families that had close to that, but I'd like you to talk a little bit about what it was to be brought up in a family then and now, a little bit of the Viola history, but brag on your buddies, your brothers, your sisters, your family, etc. So,
Well, at that time, families were 5, 6, 7 kids. That wasn't unusual. So, and four. I mean, today, if you say 4 kids, that's a big family. Then, you just got used to big families. Although our family was kind of considered 2 families, right? Although a shout out to the Gardners, because the Gardners beat us by 1. They had 13. Yeah. And God bless Tom Gardner's soul. He just passed away a couple of years ago, and he was my age. But
whoa,
yeah, he had a terrible accident. But I don't know, Peggy. I just always knew that we were different in the sense that, and you saw our house. It's like an ark, right? We just got by. We're used to having a big family. I was fortunate because I had, brothers and sisters ahead of me, but being the oldest of the second half, then I was kind of the older brother and sister to them. But my brother Jerry, I really think had a lot of responsibility in that.
really?
Yeah, because see, we had originally lived in Elmwood Park on Sunset Drive in the late 50s, early 60s. Then my dad took a position down near St. Louis, and we lived in my mom's town, which is a small German town. I think at that time maybe 3,000 people. Well, I never knew Chicago. I mean, I was born in Elmwood Park, but I was young. We go down there. When we came back to Chicago in 1969, and it's in the book,
Mhm.
Jerry was really the kind of the older one because my oldest brother Joe and Ann were already kind of moving on, graduating high school. So Jerry had to do the introduction into the neighborhood. And the thing about our neighborhood for guys is that you better know how to fight. That's just the way it was. And you probably saw that too.
I didn't
The
see too
girl,
much of it. In the book, you talk a lot about that. Sorry to interrupt.
well, it was because everybody was testing themselves. And quite honestly, I wish those days were back because my mom used to always say, boys will be boys. I think it was this whole idea of if you open your mouth, you better back it up. And so there was always this respect. The problem was when we came, there was quite a few of us. And so Jerry had the position, first of all, to start that, right? And because he did, he kind of allowed us the ability to, be in the neighborhood, you know. And so that I remember very well. I also remember sports, being in a big family. If we didn't go out and play sports or do something, my dad would put us to work. So my dad was that old school. If you're around, you're working. So we'd get done what we had to get out. And so, being a big family, you start to become a labor pool. You know what I mean?
Mm,
In that. So yeah, I didn't know any better, Peg. I mean, that's just the thing. It wasn't until later on I got married and had kids, I started realizing, wow, we really did. We were very fortunate, because a lot of stuff could have went bad quick,
yeah.
right? My mom, every time someone would compliment my mom and say, 12 kids, how did you do it? She would say, I didn't, my kids did it. And she's being somewhat modest, but very true too, because we did. We all worked at a very young age. I even remember paying my last school payment at St. William's in 8th grade because I went and got a job at MCD clothing distributor, and I
Oh,
am making some pretty good money. So my dad said, all right, finish paying your grade school tuition. So I paid all my high school tuition, all my college tuition. We were just, I think everybody, probably you too, your parents were not going to be your recreational director and they weren't going to be your wallet, you know. So you had to go out and make it happen. So you did.
But your family's close, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. It seems like you look out for each other. You were close then, you're close now, at least. I mean, I've only met half, so I've only met a half a dozen of you, but that's the impression I get. So you're there for each other, which is nice.
Yeah, I think like every family, you're never going to be as close as you were in the live-in years, right?
Okay.
Because it's all you got. When you go and you go on to school and you have your own family, families tend to, you know, get involved with their own nuclear family. We are still very close, but there was a time when we all were so involved with each other's lives that I felt bad for my sisters having seven brothers because nobody could approach them. You know, it was always
For you,
watching the girls, you
good
know, and it was someone makes a move, you know. The poor girls had no say so on our life, you know, but
yeah,
yeah, we were always, you know,
you were protective
watching.
of. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's
Pattie Lowe brought that up. Do you remember in the interview with you and Pattie? Pattie
yeah,
said
not
there's a
dating the.
pecking order. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I do remember that. Actually, your sisters was the next piece that I was going to talk about. But let me quickly say your parents just celebrated 70 years. So for everybody on the page, doing
Yeah,
well and sang to each other. It was lovely to
yeah,
enjoy
that
that
was
video.
pretty
So
good.
congratulations to them.
Yeah,
And we're
yeah,
going for 75.
yeah.
Speaking of sisters, I had, of course, three brothers. And I think I shared this with you once. I had long hair. Mom would put it in ponytails. And one of my brothers one day decided to cut off the ponytail and bring it to my mother. I know that you have never done anything mean to your sisters, but on the off chance that there's anything that you would like to fess up, this is your opportunity to bare your soul and perhaps even an offer, an apology if you choose.
Well, you know, I was a little different because, you know, my older brothers, and they probably wouldn't feel this way, but I thought they were a little tougher on my sisters. So I wasn't that way with them. I really wasn't. I kind of was the one that wanted to, you know, give them a better situation, you know. So,
Nice. Look at you. Good for
well,
you.
only because, you know, after a while, it's just like enough, you know. I mean, I did uh, uh, some things like my sister Jenny had a Miss Beasley doll. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember Miss Beasley, sure.
Yeah, the family affair. And I took a permanent magic marker and put glasses and didn't realize that permanent magic marker is permanent. So the poor kid who, you know, we didn't have that many toys to begin with. Now I had to walk around with a scarred up Miss Beasley. I think that's probably one
You
of
were
the worst
testing
things.
your right brain side. You were
Yeah,
testing your
yeah,
creative
yeah,
skills. But this is your
yeah,
apology to your sister, right?
yeah, yeah. You know, what's
uh,
funny, Peg, is when you get older, your little sisters are no longer your little sisters. You know, I don't know when that happens, but everybody becomes equal to a certain degree,
mhm.
and you just start relating to them as adults, you know, but not then. Everybody had a pecking order.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, let me do this. Okay, I'm gonna go in order. I was thinking of changing up. I have 10 lightning round questions for you, but I think I'm gonna go to the church first. Obviously, your family connected with the church then, connected with the church now. St. William's played an integral part in the neighborhood. So between the church and going to St. William's School and your friends, what would you like to say about that? I'm leaving it kind of broad, but
No,
um,
no, it was very important. I think when I realized at a young age, we were a little different with that. My dad was very dogged about that. And so I remember growing up, not too many fathers did what my dad did, right? So we'd go to mass in the morning and my dad would be the biggest voice in the church, right? So his presence was always there. See, I grew up where my dad would have us go and lead the rosary before a mass, right? Or he would start the Mother Perpetual Help novena or the Ambassadors of Mary. And so a lot of that all went on at St. William's. Now I served mass from fourth grade to I think I was a sophomore in high school. So I was always very entrenched in the church. Um, but I think in those days, everybody looked at the church as the center, so we didn't drive to church, right? Everybody was in walking distance. You would walk, right? Different time in that, you had people like Sister Dorothy who would sit in the front pew and examine all the altar boys and critique them afterwards. Or if someone was sitting in a pew at that time, families sat together. They'd go to the same mass. So there was a lot of discipline in the church at that time. I do remember when things started going off the rails, though, and the church was becoming less and less significant in the lives of the families, but we were fortunate to have Father Liebrich. My dad, he goes way back, so he was involved with the whole fundraising on the Miracle House, so
Yeah,
his group of guys, they were really hard workers to get that whole new parish built, right? So yeah, I think to your point, it was a center for the families. Some embraced it, others,
didn't.
had nothing to do with it.
Well, a lot of people I know on the page, what you were saying about the Miracle House, the Glass House, Kim Novak, everybody has memories of that clowning at the corners, which was around for a while. So that was popular. And I'm also going to mention, because I'm doing plugs on my interview, that you do, in fact, host a podcast called Catholic Reboot, which I know I have certainly learned a lot from, and host a daily rosary. We might have a couple of Catholics on the site after all. So we'll post that as well. If there's anybody that, this is an open invitation to join you, correct? 7:00 for the rosary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Peg, real quick on that though, like the clowning at the corners,
Yeah.
and even before the clowning at the corners, you'd have families like the Catalanos that they worked very hard, so Mrs. Catalano, Mr. Catalano, the boys, that's a classic example of certain families went above and beyond, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you remember when we had visited Mr. Catalano, he said it's a shame that you can put so much hard work into something and very few will turn out, right? But they
Yes.
continually did it over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I joked with Joe Catalano. I said, Joe, unless you organize a reunion, it's not going to be done. And he said, hey, Walt, my reunion days are over. You guys do it now. And I think he's joking, but to a certain extent, those kind of families put a lot of time into the neighborhood and the activities.
And it carries on, and people are benefiting from it 50 years later.
Yeah.
From the Viola family, the Catalana family, and those like them. So absolutely. I shared that. I think another activity I'd like is I thought it would be fun to go to St. William's, go to a mass, and go out to breakfast. Who knows who might show up for that? So we'll see. All right, I want to deviate and take 10 lightning round questions for you. Okay. Cubs or Sox?
What's that?
You have to pick Cubs or Sox.
Oh, Cubs, of course.
Disco or rock and roll?
Well, I'd say both. I think, when disco came in, we were big into disco. I had no problem with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Johnny's beef or Gene and Jude's?
Well, each for a different reason. Johnny's beef for the beef and sausage and the Italian ice. Gene and Jude's for the hot dog.
All right. Politically covering all your bases. All right.
Well, I worked at Johnny's. And that's why I got to be loyal.
How many guys did my brother did too, one of them. So yeah, how old were you for that? 14, 15, something like that?
I was a freshman in high school and a
Okay.
sophomore, so that would have been 1976 and 77.
With Big Nick at the register.
Yeah, Big Nick, yeah.
Big Nick, everybody knows
Johnny
Big.
too. Yeah. I told you I met Joe Accardo. I mean, yeah, Joe
Tony
Accardo,
Accardo,
the big
the
tuna.
vodka?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, he walked in. Yeah. I
I
didn't
hope he
know it
got
was
his
him.
order right.
Well, he stood in front of me and there was bodyguards. I didn't know who he was. I was a young kid, and Johnny just like melted into the wall. And after he left, he said, "That's the big tuna." I was like, "Yeah, I met him."
All right. Yeah, a lot of people met him and weren't as lucky as you. Whatever.
Right. Right.
Frank or Dean?
Oh, come on.
I
It's
know the
always
answer,
Dean.
but the 7,000 on
I
the
just,
table.
I mean, I love Frank Sinatra. I just think Dean Martin's voice is
All
just,
right. Okay. Sayer Park or Reese Park?
oh, Sarah.
Your favorite sport to play?
Baseball, softball.
Oh, okay. Favorite sport to watch on TV now or in this?
Peg, my dad and my brother Matt, they're big sports guys. I was never a big sports watcher unless it was significant. Yeah, I just didn't like wasting my time sitting in front of the television.
Okay. World Series and the play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
World Series, pennant races, divisional races. When I went to
But,
DePaul, they were pretty hot. I watched them.
and of course, we're all cheering on Italy for the soccer. I don't know
Yeah,
anything about it. I just know they're happy. So I'm happy and it's
love it.
Italian, right?
Yeah.
So,
By the way, Jeremy's really in the tube right now because they beat his home country.
oh, okay.
They beat the UK. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's right. It wasn't okay.
Yeah.
Didn't put the connection there.
Yeah.
Favorite season of the year? We got four.
Peg, honestly, I love them all. I think that's why I love being in the Midwest. I really love fall. I mean, I could do away with too much winter. I like part of winter.
But you
Love
can
spring.
appreciate spring is
If
great.
I had to pick one, it would probably be that period between spring and summer.
Good choice. Seasons
Yeah.
of beginnings, abundance,
Yeah.
new growth.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say favorite group, Beatles or Stones, but we know the answer to that.
Well, it'd be two. It would actually be two. It'd be Beatles and Pink Floyd.
Really? Pink
Oh, yeah.
Floyd?
Yeah, I still say the greatest album ever produced was Dark Side of the Moon. And my brothers would say you'd pick that over Rubber Soul. If you listen to Dark Side of the Moon, that's tough stuff.
All right. Well, okay.
Yeah.
And then favorite quote or a Bible verse or encouraging piece of advice? Do you have anything?
Yeah, my favorite Bible verse is John's first gospel. He came and they received him not. That sums it all up.
All right. And I've got one more thing, and then I'll turn it over to you if you want to, whatever you want to, share or say or whatever. But let's see, how do I want to do this? Of course, I'd like to talk about your music, but that would be another 30 minutes, which we'll have to do. But perhaps you'll touch on it in your free form thing. All right.
All right.
I want to make sure I'm not leaving anything out here. My observation about you, I think it's your lot in life to be surrounded by beautiful women with character. All right. Proverbs 31 women. We're going to start with your mother, your sisters, your daughters, your granddaughters, your special lady, her daughter, and of course the women of the administrative team on the page.
Of course, them.
We want a song. We want our own song. So however you choose to do it, whether you attach it to this interview or separately, you have to give us a song. And since we're all Italian, I personally think it would be nice if it were sung in Italian. So that's how I'm going to end it. But I will turn it over.
That won't be self-serving, Peg?
No, I don't. Hey, it's my interview. I'm promoting,
You're
do
calling the
whatever.
shots. Yeah,
That's right.
okay.
Folks, I'm working on it for, yeah. So I think that's going to be my part. I'll let you free fall now, whatever you'd like to share, but it's been fun. So thank you. But we want a song. I'm not kidding. We want a good one
Okay,
too.
okay. Oh, I would just say that I think the whole purpose behind this is that I know a lot of people are reluctant to be interviewed because today everything is so sensitive, right? Like who's going to see it? What could they do, right? I think it's great that you're doing this. I think because uh, most importantly, I think our kids don't know necessarily everything we did. And if down the road, when we're all gone, our grandkids come back and see these interviews with grandma and grandpa, right? Or nieces and nephews look at us or whatever, we have a lot to share with them. We grew up in
Yeah.
a time that was really, really special. And so I hope everybody kind of gets rid of that concern about either looking bad. Look, if you don't want your video, just put up a picture, your best picture of yourself, right? Or saying the wrong thing. But you'll notice that when I was interviewing Roy, he felt he slipped up on some things. And I said, Roy, that's what makes the interview special. So,
Right.
let it go. Don't worry about it. You're going to say something wrong, but I think the sad part is when people try not to engage, there's so much great stuff lost to history, So, like yourself, Peg, you could come up with something and someone's going to say, I completely forgot about that, right? So I think this is a good thing to do. I really do. And I hope that the more people that get interviewed, everyone will get rid of that nervousness and just let it fly. Who cares?
Exactly. This page has been a gift. It came at a time when we all needed it. The world needed it. The fact that it went from 0 to 7,200 people so quickly is testimony to that. A lot of the comments, especially early on, how much it helped people. So yes, I'm piggybacking off of what you said. We need to get people. Let's participate, folks. You shared a little bit of yourself. I'm just touching on a few things, but that's the thing, to get to know each other, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so again, I want to say, so this isn't forgotten. You are an author. Your books are available on Amazon. Look it up, under your name or by the title. You will be looking to do a future project where perhaps some people can jump in. You do sing. What do you want to sing about? What do you want to say about your singing, or what? I've
Oh,
posted.
I just think that came out of the era we grew up in, right? So
What is
everybody,
joy you have from singing?
oh,
Or what?
100%. I mean, yeah, it's everything. I mean, the funny thing is you had to make that decision. Can you do this professionally? I realized at a young age, I better become an accountant because I'm not going to pay the bills with my singing. But everybody in those days wanted to start up a band, and we did. I think it's different now. Like the singing I do now, I never did back then. I did rock and roll then. Now I go to the classics. I love Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, even a little Bing Crosby, the Ink Spots, because I think that era of voices was extremely solo, right? So when I grew up in rock and roll, you had a good rock singer, but they weren't well, they were soloists, but they weren't that classic, you had $1 million orchestra behind you. So yeah, it means a lot. But Peg, I got that from my mom.
She
Um,
started you guys singing,
yeah, my
or
mom was
started you singing?
always there. She's a phenomenal harmonizer. My dad would always say things like, "Oh, so you think you can sing, huh?" You know. So it was the encouragement always came from my mom, and she loved to harmonize and to this day, if you ever sat with her and you pick one of the old songs, it's amazing how she can pick out the harmony,
Well,
at
just when
90.
she was singing to your father in that little,
Yeah, that was kind of cute. Yeah,
and she
yeah,
seems like a very joyous person. And no,
yeah, yeah.
good for her.
Which
No
is
wonder.
really it's kind of amazing, Peg, because my mom's German, right? So we'd always think that the Italian is that. It was actually quite the opposite, you know?
Well, 70 years married to your father, she's Italian. So I
Yeah,
loved her
yeah,
anyway.
well, yeah, yeah,
We will allow the German, but she's definitely, what can I
yeah,
say?
right.
All right. What else do you want to say here? What else? I thought I'd be running out of time here, but I'm thinking,
Well, I think, like what you're doing right now is you're trying to get people together, right? And
well,
you really
this all
did it.
started from you. This isn't me. I'm just,
Well, no, I think you went off and you researched stuff like cruises and stuff like that. And I think
oh,
what's
well, there.
happening with our site is we're still trying to figure out what is it that people want or want to do. Some of the stuff we do flops, some stuff. I think the idea of this big bash, like a mega bash where there's bands and food. I think that's really going to tell the tale, Peggy. If that thing crashes and burns, then I don't know. I don't know what we have left to try.
Well, I said this privately, but I'll say it publicly too, because I do think it's true. Most of us are baby boomers within that age. You know, if last year taught us anything, is nothing, tomorrow's not promised to anybody.
Oh no.
You're going to end up going to somebody's wake. You're going to end up going to somebody's funeral. Today is the day to live. I couldn't carpe diem with your brother 55 years ago. I was only 8 years old, but
Right.
I've learned the meaning of seize the day. And that's whatever opportunity. I think, I'm not saying this to you. I'm saying it to whoever's listening here. You got to push yourself a little bit sometimes. There's always an excuse, but we make time for the things, the people, the places that are important to us. This page is an opportunity to connect. You started this, you put it out there. And so the rest of us, we have to get in there. And this is a page to reconnect with old friends, make new friends, or whatever you want it to be. But it's going to die if we don't.
Yeah.
We've got to, I think, push a little bit.
Well, I think,
No, not
COVID,
push, but you know what I mean. Push ourselves a little bit to make the connection, right? No?
Peck, I think COVID, honestly, I think it did a lot more damage than most people know. I think so many people went internal during that time. I think we still don't know when people are going to start coming back to what they were before, what they want to do. So who knows? It could be 2022 before we're going to get back to that, where people are going to want to engage more. There's so much toxic stuff going on right now that I do understand why people are apprehensive to comment, put themselves out there, right? But
Everybody has a memory of growing up. Everybody has a story of growing up. Did I
yeah,
interrupt you?
yeah. Well,
You know,
Peg, we don't mind embarrassing ourselves, and I think that's
oh, we don't.
no. It's like, okay, well, we look like an idiot there, but we don't care. We'll move to the next thing. We're looking for that spark in the bottle, is the lightning in a bottle, or something like that. So we'll get there. You know,
Yeah.
I try not to comment too much on the site because I'd rather other people comment, right? And but we need a lot more. We need a lot more interaction.
Somebody needs to hear what each of us has to say.
Yeah.
And I really believe that with all my heart, and take the step. It doesn't have to be soul bearing, whatever. We're having a little banter here, but point being, it's going to trigger a memory for somebody, and somebody else might have renewed appreciation growing up in a large family, or think, oh, wait a minute, maybe it is time to go back to church, or maybe I better, reconnect with someone from grammar school. You just don't know. And we're not going to know unless somebody puts it out there. That's,
Yeah.
So.
I think we're feeling the pulse with the number of admin we have. So I think we'll get there. I'm really optimistic about it.
Good. Well, me too. But once in a while, you gotta.
Yeah.
You have to. So I don't know. We're probably out of time or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you
We're
think?
actually right there.
Okay.
But I do want to see you get the Catalanos on a multiple interview.
That's
Mr. C and all the boys. That would be cool.
my hope, if I can say it here for my spots guest hosting. Yes, I would love Mr. C, one of my favorite people in the whole world, with the Catalano boys, who I used to babysit for.
Right.
At least Ronnie and Joey and Ricky, actually. I would like Bobby Feccarata.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a different angle with him. Jack the artist, I'm going to contact you. And we've got a lot of interesting people here. So if you're interested in being interviewed, step up, folks. And again, I'm going to post Wally's podcast information and all that good stuff.
You may lose viewers after that.
No, you've got things that need to be heard. And you work on that song because Fortunato you have with all these good looking women in your life.
Oh, nice.
And I think that's all I have. I don't know.
Well, Peg, you did a wonderful job.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah.
I
I think you are going to be the Baba Wawa of the interview.
Well, Oprah and I have the same, what is it? The Myers-Briggs, the, ENFP. So it worked for her. I'd love it to work for me, but it's extrovert, intuitive feeling and perception for anybody who doesn't know. All right. We're running out of time. You've got a rosary to do.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you, Peg.
Tell everybody hello. Talk to you later. Bye. We're good, right?
Very good.
Good interview.
Yeah. Okay, mega admin gals. As Peggy requested, this is the closest I'll get. It's Uccelli's Besame Mucho. Although not in Italian, it's Latin, so it's close. One take, let's do it. Besame, besame mucho. Como si per este noche la un tapie. Bésame, bésame mucho. Waiting umida per te disput. Bésame, bésame mucho, como si per esta noche la un tapie. Bésame, bésame mucho. Waiting umida perde de su. Fuerte musara merme amtuius, verte unto a mi, pensa qui tervia, ioia estelegos, mulegos de ti. Bésame, bésame mucho, como si per esta noche la última vez. Bésame, bésame mucho.
Tengo mi de verde, verde de sur. Bésame mucho, pues tengo miedo verte, verte después. Pues tengo miedo verte, verte después. Oh, the good life, full of fun, seems to be the ideal. The good life lets you hide all the sadness you feel. You won't really fall in love, or you can take the chance. So please be honest with yourself. Don't try to fake romance. It's the good life to be free and explore the unknown. Like the heartaches, when you learn, you must face them alone. Please remember, I still want you, and in case you wonder why, well, just wake up, kiss the good life. Good